everyone. So welcome to this Lunch and Learn. So for those who don't know me, my name is Shilan Kimani. I'm one of the customer engagement pre-sales consultants here at HSO and been with the company for about 6 years now, I think it is. Time's flown by. So today we're going to be walking through the wave release features of customer engagement. So there are a lot of features that we're going to be covering off today, and we are going to be covering off a lot, but there are more which I won't be able to cover off today, unfortunately, because of the time. But I do encourage everyone to, first of all, have a look at some of the resources if you are interested in certain areas or certain modules of Microsoft's release. And some of the great features that I tend to use on a regular basis are the release planners that Microsoft have, which is the first one on the left-hand side. This is one of their interactive pages where you can see from a module by module basis from the Dynamics and Power Platform stack of all the features that are going to be releasing, that are planned, when they're going to be released from a GA perspective, and what features you may want to keep on top of as well, so you can tag certain ones. So I really encourage everyone to have a look at that website, have a little scroll through, and incorporate that as your resource for any release features moving forward. On the right hand side, you've also got Microsoft blogs, another great source to see what Microsoft are pushing out as part of their releases and innovation and case studies, etc. Again, it's always a good read to have when you've got a few minutes of time. And then on the bottom, you've got the release plan if you wanted to have it in the Microsoft Docs page, which gives you a bit more detail about what the releases are and any links to how you want to implement them or how you want to set them up once they've gone into GA or public preview. So as I mentioned, I won't be covering off every single list of features that have been released as part of this wave, because I'll probably be here all day. But I have selected a few ones that I think might be useful for customers to either be aware of or should know about, that are things that will be coming up in sort of the next few months or maybe already released as part of GA. So the first module that I'm going to cover off is Customer Insights. And for those who are not aware, Customer Insights is essentially the marketing module from Microsoft. And Microsoft used to have the product called Dynamics 365 Marketing back in a few years ago. They've now transitioned into Customer Insights. And as part of that transition, they've also moved some of the capabilities that they had in the previous application into this new one, which brings me on to my first release item. So this is all around the heat map items and analytics for emails. So as a marketer, you want to send out your emails to your contacts, your leads, understand how they want to interact with them. The heat map feature will then start to give them insights into how exactly people are interacting with those emails that they're receiving. So you can see that in this case, people are nicely clicking on the dog image, and they're also clicking on the images at the top. So these gives us insights into interactions, what links people are clicking onto, the devices that they're going on to as well, and how they're interacting, which will help drive understanding of how engagement is being run with the marketing material that's been sent out to customers. The next one I wanted to touch on is the collection of information, especially customer information, with the use of marketing forms. So marketing forms is great for being able to capture information about a contact or a lead, get them into the system and be able to then interact with them. However, sometimes in some scenarios, you may have a form where you may want to capture information that you may use on an ad hoc basis or even like on a one-off basis. So example being, let's say you're running a marketing event and you want to invite people and get them to sign up using the form. Now that event, you may also provide food, so you might want to capture people's dietary requirements. Now previously, in order to do that, you would have to create a field in the Dataverse, publish it, and then have it available to use as part of the marketing form. But what Microsoft have now done is give you the capability to allow you to capture those ad hoc bits of information without creating that field. So in this case, we've got on the right hand side these advanced fields here where we can then define what the custom field is, the label behind it, and then capture that in the system, so you can then use that as part of the form application being submitted. Other scenarios could be, where did you hear about us? The possibilities are endless, but the fact is you're no longer having to create fields or redundant fields in the system to be able to do that. Now, moving into some of the other areas within marketing, specifically around events, is where Microsoft have sort of done a bit of a revamp in this area. So we've had events in the past, however, they've now looked at bringing it into a more of a modern place. So what do I mean by that? So customers will have events, they'll have their own websites. Now, with the marketing application or customer insights tool, you can use the events module within the customer insights tool to either connect into your customer's website or your own website. So if you wanted to publish events for people to register up on and you wanted to do that experience through your own website, then you can do so using the JavaScript codes that Microsoft will provide, or using things like the event APIs to connect into your current CMS tool. Or alternatively, if you wanted to drive that through Dynamics or through the Microsoft platform, then you've also got the new Power Pages template that will allow you to do that, which is what the screenshots are showing here at the moment. So as you're creating your events, as you're creating the details behind them and publishing them and going live, using the Power Pages templates, you're able to then surface them through that application and then allow people to register through there as well. And then with it being on Power Pages, you can then use the configuration elements and the drag and drop capabilities to be able to design it however you want it through the system. And then touching on the last point around the event capacity and the waitlist registration. So when it comes to events, you've got people signed up. Sometimes you may have capacity limits of venues or just the size of the event to make sure that it's in a manageable state for whoever's presenting. Then you can set capacity limits on that. But then not only setting the limits, but also adding people to waiting lists if that capacity limit has been is fulfilled and it's full up. So throughout the journey, if any point in the process where someone leading up to the event drops out, you can then trigger off journeys to then invite someone else in to make sure that you've always got full events, and anyone who's on the waiting list gets a chance to get a spot at the event if they're on the waiting list. So all these great things to make sure that we're maximizing the registration and engagement with marketing and any events that they're generating. So that's customer insights. The next one I want to touch upon is sales. So within sales, and this feature will probably show in multiple areas once it's enabled, not just the sales module, but it's essentially using Copilot to help visualize and generate views. So as a seller, they often use their data to be able to understand and make decisions. Now, this Copilot visualization feature will, once enabled, do a few things. One thing you'll see is when you're in your system views, you'll then notice this ribbon at the top of your view, which essentially allows you to use natural language to be able to create a specific view based upon the filters that you're trying to apply on. Before, you'd have to go and create the filters and use the advanced find to be able to do that. Now you're using Copilot's natural language to be able to go and generate that for you. And then on the right hand side, you've got this visualization button. And when you click on that, that will then take the content of the view that you're in, understand what you're trying to achieve, and put it into a graph form. Now, that graph form is what Copilot thinks is best way to visualize the data, but you can obviously change that in different ways. If it's a pie chart or a line graph that you need to visualize it in as well, you can change it, but also get the explanation of how it's come to that chart as well. So again, really quick ways of visualizing the data and on an ad hoc basis, or if you wanted to save that, then you can obviously save that and use it as a chart moving forward as well. The next one is smart pasting. So this is all around productivity on your day-to-day life. So sellers will receive leads, and leads may receive or be received in multiple channels. It could be by web, it could be by email, it could even just be through some notes that they had through meeting someone face to face. But eventually we want to put them into CRM so we can then start to progress them through and qualify them. Now with Smart Paste, what Microsoft have done is essentially taken your clipboard on your mouse. So if I'm receiving an email and I copy a whole email or a signature of someone's email, and I do the right click copy or control C on my keyboard, that's going to save it to my clipboard. Now, when I go into Dynamics and create a new lead record, I can use the smart paste feature, which will identify that I've got a record of some sort in my clipboard, and I can map it to the fields on the form. So in the screenshot, what we're seeing, unfortunately, it's a bit blurry, but what you'll see is here where we start to see those multicolored fields is essentially where it's taking the information from the clipboard, mapping it to the fields where it thinks that data should be kept. And you can either accept all the suggestions because it's mapped it correctly, or you can individually select and confirm which fields that you want to map to. So making it much more simpler to get the information into the system without having to do copy and paste multiple times into the system when doing data entry. You've also got the option of doing bulk imports of data through a document as an example as well through the smart paste feature as well, which is quite an interesting concept. And then the last one I want to touch upon sales is the lead management sales qualification agent. So Microsoft have been working a lot around these agents who go off and do a lot of things to help support and get information and do certain actions on behalf of the end user. So when we talk about the sales qualification agent in this scenario, it's actually made up of three other agents. You've got the research agent, which is what we're seeing on screen. The research agent essentially helps you get that holistic picture of the record that you're looking at. In this case, it's a lead. So it'll get all the information from your CRM that's linked to this lead to give you that 360-degree picture. It can also scale public websites if you had company information that you might want to pull in. It can also do things like validation of email addresses and phone calls, understand who's already connected to that lead historically, who can make introductions, anything around companies' finances or strategic alignments, suggestions, any existing or past opportunities that you may had. So a lot of information that can get presented to the seller based upon what the Copilot research agent has been able to unpick and discover, and provide you an overview and a holistic view of what it's uncovered and give you insights into what it's covered. You can then go ahead and react however you want to make it react to it. It will also then help drive personalization, which is where the personalization agent comes in, because it will take all this information and then start to drive personalized communication. So next best actions, the emails that you might want to send to them based upon specific information you've uncovered. It may be also to help with the qualification process. So you may have a bank qualification, so budget, authority, timeline, etc. Take that all into consideration and then apply it into any of the comms that you're sending out. And then you've got the engagement agent as well, which is looking at how it then how the customers or how the prospects are reacting to your emails to make sure that you're interacting at the right time. You're interacting with and you're getting the right responses, and you're not having to spend a lot of time doing a lot of chase ups and admin work when the agents can do it for you. So really exciting time. So a lot of that is going to be coming up in the next couple of months, but definitely one to keep an eye out on. Customer service. So one of the big things in customer service is the move from what people are predominantly would have is the customer service hub, which is no longer available for any organization or any new environments that are going to be published. However, they are transitioning it over into a new app, which is called the new, it's now called Copilot Customer Service Workspace app. And what it is it's a different experience, but it's also a similar experience. And what I mean by that is a lot of the forms and the views, etc., are the same as what you're using today. However, it's just a slightly different flavor or a different lens of how you're going to be interacting with it. But it's all designed to be able to help the customer service agent be able to be more productive, be able to get information they need, elevate elevate their working days with modern technology and modern capabilities to be able to essentially serve the customer's requests as they come in. So what does that actually mean for clients? So for anyone who's got the customer service hub and using it actively at the moment, don't worry or don't panic. There isn't a end date of when you need to migrate off it. However, if you are spinning new environments up, you will not see the customer service hub. You will see the customer service or service Copilot service workspace. A bit of a mouthful, but essentially, in order to start that transition period, what you'll need to do is start to look at these areas around your dashboards, your views, your forms, your business process flows, and any links, and then transition them over into the new app. Now, Microsoft have a link to help support that, and it'll be provided and shared with you as part of this presentation. But what I want to also do is just give you a flavor of what that actually looks like in a quick demonstration. So if I move into my Copilot Service workspace. So one of the main differences that you're going to see through the workspace is the look and feel of the navigation on the left-hand side. So at the moment, this is a collapsible one. And if I click into an area, what you'll see is this workspace has a tabular experience. So it will then open as many tabs as I want in context of what I'm in. And what I mean by that is if I'm in an email or a case as an example, let me see if I can find the one I created earlier on. There you go. So if I click into this one here, so it will create a tab at the top. So this is now essentially called my session. So anything I am clicking on or clicking through within the session, so if I click through onto the customer, it will then open multiple tabs, but remaining or keeping hold of my session at the top. So I can click through many different records. I can go through, let's say, their account. It'll just open additional tabs in this experience, but holding it to that specific case record at the top. So it's all contextualizing the tabs, and I can have multiple of those tabs open at any point in time. Now, what the experience also does is it gives you a new look and feel of the view of the case record. So this is the enhanced full case view, which again, it's similar to what we've seen previously, but a slightly different skin on it. So at the top, I've got my SLAs. So it's a slightly different SLA timer that we've had previously, which will all be set up based upon how you've set your SLAs up in the system. We've got links to any activities that are due for that specific day, so a summary of that. We've also got Copilot summaries on the form. So if I needed to get a summary of a case that's been open for a period of time, it will summarize everything that's happened to date and give me a view of that. But also on the right-hand side, you've got this productivity pane, which is one of the big changes in this experience, where here will all be contextual based upon the case record that you're in, or or any of the other related records that you're in. In this case, because I've got a case related to trade research as my contact or my account, I've got their details on the right-hand side available to me. I can see a history of previous cases with them or recent cases that are open. I can go into Copilot and use some of the questions and prompting to be able to go and generate me some responses or help looking at some knowledge-based articles to provide me the answers to the inquiry. And then you've also got additional other stuff around knowledge-based search or smart assist search or even Teams chats as well within this experience. So slightly different. However, it's all designed to align to all the other applications as well, such as the contact center or omni-channel engagement, if you're looking at those as well. So this will be a similar experience to that those agents are using on a day-to-day basis. Okay. And speaking of contact center, so for those who are not familiar, Microsoft have brought out a new contact center solution called D365 Contact Center, and it's an extension to the customer service app or module, and it's not exclusively for customer service. If you also have a Salesforce environment, you can also connect your contact center or Dynamics contact center to that as well. But essentially, it's Microsoft play around having everything built in to the contact center to allow organizations such as yourself to maximize the use of one platform with everything in there that your agents interact with. Now, again, this is just a handful of all the features that Microsoft have released. I won't go through each one. And what I want to really sort of highlight is it's a huge investment that Microsoft are putting into, and there's tons of features that are being released almost like on a weekly basis at this point. Things from Copilot AI and how it can use things like intent, so being able to understand requests that are coming in from different channels, the type of inquiry that is coming in. Is it a complaint? Is it someone who's asking for information? Is it a follow-up query, and routing and using that intent to be able to analyze and understand and route it to the correct team or correct person, or even be able to do some self-sufficient stuff around fetching the information from where it's being kept. Using the IVR bot to be able to do things like self-serve, but also do things like making sure that you're compliant with your data that you're capturing. So any sensitive information that the IVR is recording, making sure it's sensitive, it's been marked as sensitive, and it's not being presented in transcripts or call recordings post the conversations. And then new experiences, opening up the contact center to so many different ways of how you can get your customers to communicate with you through things like WhatsApp or native apps on your mobile phone, AI summaries on the quality of the conversation that you've had, idle time, so you're hitting your SLAs correctly, and if there's no response in certain channels over a period of time, then closing it out. Again, there's so many different features. We probably need another session specifically on contact center. But another area I just wanted to highlight is the workforce management piece. So one of the key areas and key functions of a contact center is making sure you've got the right staff on the contact center desk. So you've got the right amount of people to manage the volumes that you're expecting, and being able to do that, you need a workforce management tool to do the shift planning and making sure that you've got coverage across. And this is what this capability or host of capabilities is being brought into essentially fix and meet. So a lot of the stuff around automated planning or manual shifting, swapping in and shifts out between different agents, looking at how it's sort of interacting in real time and forecasting scenarios of your your contact center desk. So you may have peak periods where you may need more people, seasonal times, etc. Being able to analyze the data to make sure that you're resourcing your contact center as appropriately as possible to make sure that you're managing the demand from the customers that are going to be feeding in. So again, all these very cool features and very great features that people want to need to make sure you're maximizing and you're running your contact center on your customer service desk efficiently. And then finally is is field service. So within field service, there's a few bits of optimizations that they've done mainly around the resource scheduling tool. So firstly, we've got the scheduling operations agent, and what that agent is essentially doing is looking at your planner board, understanding what open and unscheduled work orders or work order jobs are there, and looking at using AI and Copilot, what's the best fit and what's the best optimized diary schedule for someone based upon factors such as traffic or bookings or idle time. So all these different things we can then put into place, characteristics, so skill sets, etc. And then being able to present a plan of, we think that the schedule for this specific resource is going to look like this, and you can commit to that if you want to, or it can then go down into a manual or a human intervention to then say, well, no, I think we should do this schedule as an example. But the agent is then helping to maximize the efficiencies within the planning of any jobs within the work order experience. And then when it comes to scheduling of resources, it's also introducing a feature where it's allowing you to become time zone agnostic. So what I mean by that is you may have a resource in multiple different time zones. You may have a resource in the UK. You may have one in the Far East. You may have one in the States. However, we just need someone to be able to do a job who has the right skill sets between a 9 to 5 period. What the schedule board will do is not take into consideration of where someone is and be able to identify the best resource for that job in the system, retrospectively or regardless of where they're sitting within the time zone period. So again, it's always giving us the flexibility of how we want to identify and find the right resources for the right jobs and the right people doing those jobs to essentially get the best outputs and satisfaction for customers. And then finally, on the schedule board, what Microsoft have been doing and working hard on is being in the background, improving the performance and usability of the schedule board. So what they've been doing is actually changing the schedule board's technology in the back end to become a React based schedule board, which means it's much more faster, much more responsive, and more aligned to heavy lifting of scheduling and bringing up to sort of the latest technologies as well. So it's more of an optimization in the back end, but it has an impact on user performances and people using it on a day-to-day basis. Okay, so those are sort of the main ones I wanted to cover off today. There's a whole host of other features that are going to be released or going to be potentially put into public preview in the next couple of weeks, months over from now to I think October. And then we'll probably see another host of other features coming out but hopefully that's all been very useful, insightful. And if there's any other question, I'm more than happy to take them either now or offline. But thanks everyone for the time. And if anyone wants to keep in touch, feel free to follow HSO for any other further lunch and learns. Keep a tab on our website if you want to look at any of the posts that we're putting out there. And there's also a link to my LinkedIn as well if you want to see anything from there.